How y'all doing? Nick Brengle here, and today I'm taking you from this to this, showing you the different lights and microphones and practicals and just how I designed this tiny little space to shoot talking head YouTube videos, and hopefully giving you some tips and hints or tricks or magic or whatever it is along the way. So let's just get right into it. We're going to revert from this shot to the Canon 10 to 18 millimeter, and we're going to be a little further back, and I'm going to show you everything from beginning to end. So if you're interested in that, stick around, and at the end of the setup I'll be kind of walking through this shot and a couple of other shots using the exact same setup and not moving anything except for the camera. So yeah, let's go. Come on. So this is it. This is ground zero. There is nothing going on in here. I want to say today we're roughly, it's kind of an overcast day. We have some storms rolling in later, but that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the setup, going through each item and giving you a perspective of what it takes for me to do, you know, the type of scene and look that I enjoy, and give you an idea of the work that goes into it, the different lights, and how it's all placed in this kind of small-ish space. So we just have the natural light right now coming in from the two windows. So the window that's out of frame, you've seen it before. And this one here as well. There's nothing else except for obviously the computer monitor and this light right here, and we're gonna get going. So yeah, let's do it. Okay. So normally, if you watch my videos, this is not the framing, it's not this wide and massive, but we're on the Canon 10 to 18 right now to give you obviously the perspective for everything, so I can talk about the different pieces of gear. Once we get to the finished point, we will be back right here on the Sigma 18 to 35, and it will look just way different. It won't be all dark like it is right now. So the first thing that I like to do is kind of position our chair where we want it, and Theodore of course will play the role. So I'll get it just a little bit on the carpet so that it doesn't move as much when I'm shooting. Obviously this is the new leather chair that I talked about in a previous video, so go ahead and check that out. Okay, give her a twirl. Okay, you can't even see that anyway right now. Okay, so you get your chair there. The key light, of course. Hey, no, we're not doing that. We're not scratching on that. Okay, so next is the key light, and it's already plugged in. And we're just gonna move it over to where we want it. And this is the Godox UL 150. We've talked about it several times before, and it is on okay, so we just want to get this in the rough position of where we're going to want it. And then we'll fire it up, and we can get some more light going in here, because we won't worry about the actual exposure and everything until we're sitting in the chair. Okay, so we get our UL 150 in roughly the position that we want. We're gonna go ahead and fire this up and put it at, I don't know, 50%. Is that gonna be enough to see me? It is. Okay, let's make sure we're gonna be in focus here, because, okay, yeah, we're plenty in focus. Okay, so to talk a little bit about this thing, this comes right off, okay? And we obviously have the Mini Dome 2 with the honeycomb grid attached, and then the diffusion from within, and then a little diffusion circle within that. So 1, 2, honeycomb, and then I've talked about this before. This was from a blind from the window, and basically just rigged up some Velcro on that. This has like multiple layers within. It's kind of like its own little honeycomb, but reverse, I guess, or parallel, perpendicular, whatever you want to call it. And we just set this on here. We find the outer parts of the mini dome, and we just rig it up that way. Okay, and then it's gonna fall a little bit, which is okay. And boom, now look how much we've diffused it, and we're at 50%. I mean, you can go all the way up to 100, and it's super soft. And so we're gonna leave this as a base. And again, we're gonna adjust a lot of this once we bring the camera in and frame up for the proper shot. So that's plugged in, we're good to go there. The next is gonna be the hair light, rim light, whatever you wanna call it. And for that, we're gonna bring in the Nanlite Pavo tube, and we're gonna have to bust out a C-stand here and power. We also need power, okay. Let's see how easy this will be to get out. Okay. Boom, all right. So now we're gonna bust out the C-stand, which it's kind of nice. I got this less expensive, just but sturdy, just stand. I don't think you call it those a C-stand. Maybe you do. It doesn't matter. Just call it whatever you want. But it takes up less space, and I'm able to leave this light up all the time and not feel as bad about taking up so much real estate. So I'm gonna go ahead and rig this bad boy up. All right, get that tightened up. All right. Okay, most likely we're gonna have that about yay high or so. Fire that bad boy up. Yeah, and I'll run this one at 2700 Kelvin, and this is 5600 Kelvin daylight. So again, just kind of creating a little more depth and color in this room. Sometimes I think this wall, this color can be a little bit flat, so I like to bring as much texture as I can and create depth in a small space. So put that there. Okay. And we're gonna plug this in as well. Okay, let's turn this thing out because we're gonna run out the battery. Okay, so we have our hair light set up, we have our key light set up, and the next thing I like to do is get the microphone situated, how I'm gonna record all that. Oh, I should probably mention how we're doing the audio here because it's a little weird. So I went ahead and took a shoelace and made a makeshift necklace. Not really, and I attached the Godox Verso M2. And this is kind of the best that it's gonna get. I'm not a fan of clipping these onto your shirt because as you can see, it kind of hangs forward. It doesn't look great. The audio quality is I'm impressed with. It's just the device itself and how you have to place it. It's better if you're just holding it, and you know, laving up for something like this is kind of unnecessary unless I was wearing some kind of button up or sweater or something that I could just easily go left or right. But when you just have a collar and you're by yourself, it can be super annoying. So this is easy, it's simple enough for you. You don't really care as long as you can hear me, I assume. And you just get to hear this product again, which is pretty cool. So this is still going off the original battery charge from weeks and weeks ago, and it works amazingly, and we're recording directly into the camera. So it's kind of a no-brainer, it's easy, I don't have to think about it that much. But okay, so typically I record with the Rode NT3 for audio, but just for today, for fun, we're gonna go, well, the NT3 is even older actually. We're still gonna be old school with the Rode NTG2, the original Rode NTG2. We don't really need this windscreen, but we're gonna rig this up today instead of our NT3. I typically have a microphone ready to go, just out kind of like with my light. And as most of you know, it is the Rode NT3 usually, because it's just a great, incredible microphone. So why wouldn't you? Okay, let's rig this guy up. Boom, boom. And I never power the NTG2 with a battery. I just phantom power it, and that works for me. So, and it'll be plugged into the Zoom F3 and we'll record in 32-bit float, raw recording, which will be cool. So stay tuned for that, and you'll kind of see the switch. Well, you've already heard the switch from the initial opening of the video, I guess, so you already have an idea of the sound difference. Okay, so let's just tighten that. And again, just roughly getting things set up. We're not looking to be perfect yet. Okay. And then let's go ahead and get our Zoom F3, our battery, and we also need our USB-C. Okay, so go ahead and plug this all in. I don't think you can see it. No, it's just out of frame, but I'm just sitting that on the Pelican case and, you know, again, roughly getting that kind of set up for whatever it is that we're gonna do. Okay, so we have our bass set up. This is the basic, as simplest, well, maybe not as simple as we can get, but this is kind of the most basic where we're at. So again, the UL150 is gonna be the key light. We got the Rode NTG2 shotgun microphone right here. And then the hair light is the Nanlite Pavo tube on the C-stand that'll just be, you know, out of frame just behind here. And the next thing we want to do is add just a couple of practical lights that I normally have. Again, I think you're used to seeing some of these things. So we're going to add a couple of different lights, and then we're going to switch lenses and get the final kind of shot that we want to do. One thing I'm not going to do today that I've been doing occasionally is using some black foam core and kind of rigging it up out of frame here to get some negative fill. But today we're not going to do that. We're just going to focus on everything else that's going on. It's kind of a lot anyways. And plus Theo's being really bad. So what are you doing? Huh? Okay, so first one we're gonna do is actually a brand new light that I'll be talking about in a different separate video you may have seen already, who knows. And this is the Godox C5R, and so far I am super impressed with it. And we're gonna go ahead and switch this to, let's see, what kind of color do we want to go? Blue. Let's go kind of blue, and then, oh gosh, what about 25%? Let's go 25%. Okay, we'll go 25% there. I know I have a couple of little mini Pavo tubes here. All right, we'll do like a red, and we'll kind of just put that up there. I'm usually trying to look from way back here as to what it looks like, which is always near impossible. We can use a third one just for fun if we want. This is actually a different brand. This is the Light K21. It's not a bad light. The battery life is not as great. Okay, so we have everything pretty much squared away. We're gonna switch now to the Sigma 18 to 35 and move on from there. So again, let's recap here. Rode NTG2 plugged into the Zoom F3. We got the Pavo tube from Nanlite on the C-stand, acting as my hair light. We have the Godox UL150 Mark II using the Aperture Mini Dome 2, and then we've talked through all this diffusion, and then we just have some practical lights, computer, iPad, some mini LEDs, and you know, create some separation here, hopefully with this hair light. We'll be able to do that as well. So yeah, let's switch it up. So switch it up to this guy. Okay, so we have the Sigma 18 to 35 on, and I've adjusted just a few things to get them semi out of frame, except for this light. Okay, so we got to get this this light out of the frame, obviously. That's a no-brainer. I'm still not in love with this, and again, I'm doing this just slightly different than I normally would, trying to kind of keep everything rolling. Okay, so this is the setup. This is a simple talking head, key light, hair light, microphone, some practicals, and this is what you get within a, basically, I mean, if you're looking at the frame from window to desk, it's probably a 5-foot frame that goes back the width. So take with that what you will. Now the focusing, okay, there we go. I believe we should be in focus now. So what I'm gonna do is, you've already seen the gear, everything. We've had the wide shot. We've walked through everything. We've warp speed through a few things. Now what I'm gonna do is take this same setup, so light, hair light, everything's gonna be the same except for the framing. I'm gonna be in the exact same place. I mean, the chair is not gonna move. The camera will move, and just wanna give you some different variations for what this can be. Because, you know, even this shot is a little wide. I don't always shoot this wide. I'm usually a little bit tighter in. It just depends on how that day I wanna, you know, use my hands more, or how the scene is gonna look, if it's really sunny out or whatever. So yeah, so this is the initial setup, and now I'm going to show you a few other setups. Okay, so we're back to the first shot that we have in this video, and it's kind of a tighter shot. I use this a little more often, only because it's a little more simplified of a setup. I don't have to think too much about where to put the lights. There's plenty of room out of frame, and I'm just really trying to make this look, you know, as great as I can, but also in a timely fashion, and knowing that it's going on YouTube. So just make it look, you know, like you, and put it out into the world, and kind of, you know, just keep working through that process, and kind of building off of the last video and last setup. And I think each and every time it's slightly different, and I appreciate that. I know there's plenty of channels that and YouTubers that have a very specific look every single time. They have a light in the same place, the exact same focal length, the same microphones, everything is the same, and that consistency is well received, no doubt. But I like to kind of just try different things out, because when I find something I really like, I make notes of that, and I use it again in the future. So yeah, so we're gonna switch to a few other different looks, just moving the camera. Again, can't stress that enough, that we're not spending all this time moving these lights around to shape and do all kinds of things. We're just trying to do a simple setup, and show you a little bit of a different look and feel. So yeah, I don't. Okay, so here I've moved the camera forward about 2 feet, and I've widened my focal length to 18 millimeters, and my microphone is like 6 inches from my mouth. The camera is a foot away. The light is still in the same place. And so you're kind of seeing a different look and feel. It's a wider field from my nose back, but we're kind of getting the same framing that we did when we were 2 feet back at 35 millimeter. But again, just to kind of give you, you know, a different look and feel of what you can do, because this is really a tight space here. I mean, I'm face to face, close talking with you, and there's a light here, there's a light barely out of frame here, microphone is barely out of frame, as you can see. I'll pull it down, and yeah, I mean, this is a really easy setup because everything is so confined and you feel like you're in your own little bubble, and you can talk. You see a lot of this really close, wide shots on YouTube. So this is another, I don't know, it's a good one, I guess. I don't know. Now this shot I probably wouldn't use because we're at 35 millimeter now and we're at that same like foot distance away from my face. It's a little too intimate. It's a little too in your face, literally, for talking about gear and things like that. This isn't a dramatic video, so it's kind of unnecessary. Okay, so here is a shot if you were doing sort of a fun fake interview. The camera is obviously to my left and we're shooting on the shadow side. The light is still right here, and I can pretend I'm talking to someone or being interviewed and talking about something more serious, checking to make sure I'm in focus, of course. Or you can just turn and look at the camera this way, because it kind of, you know, the shape that this does, you know, I'm making sure my body is facing this way, but then I just kind of turn towards the camera and make it seem like I'm right there with you and kind of bringing you in a little bit. So this is just another fun one. I don't know. It's, now that I'm looking at it, it's not bad. Okay, well, that pretty much wraps it up. This was a long video, so if you stuck around, I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider doing that. It's free. Go watch some of my other content. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, until next time, go create something and you know, start a YouTube channel. Why not? It's fun, and you get to kind of just make whatever you want and tell people how you really feel about them, you know? So do that.